For 6 long months, Cole Mercer had carried the weight of the world on his shoulders. Every morning began the same way, before the sun lifted its first pale light over the plains, before the birds stirred, before the land itself seemed awake. Cole rose from his narrow bed, pulled on worn boots, and stepped into the cool dawn carrying his baby daughter, Emma, against his chest. The ranch demanded his strength, his time, and his body, but Emma demanded something far more difficult, his heart. He fed the cattle with one arm sore from holding her through restless nights. He mended fences while rocking her cradle with his foot. He cooked sparse meals while humming lullabies he barely remembered learning. And every night, when the ranch fell silent and the stars stretched endlessly overhead, he wondered how long a man could keep standing when he was doing the work of 3 and the loving of 2. Emma was too young to understand loss. She only knew absence. She did not know why her mother never returned, why the woman who once sang softly to her was now only a memory buried beneath the wide Wyoming sky. She only knew that when Cole stepped away, even for a moment, fear rose quickly, and her cries followed him like echoes across the land. For 6 months, Cole searched for help. Neighbors offered sympathy, but none could stay. Travelers passed through, took one look at the isolated ranch and the responsibility of a baby, and declined politely. Or not at all. A few hired hands claimed experience with children, but quit within a day, overwhelmed by the brutal balance of ranch work and childcare. Cole never blamed them. He understood better than anyone how impossible it was. By the end of the 6th month, exhaustion had become a permanent state. Hope felt like a luxury he could no longer afford. Then came the morning that changed everything. Cole stood on the porch, Emma nestled against his chest, her small fingers curled into his shirt. The wind brushed across the open land, carrying dust and the scent of dry grass. He was staring toward the horizon, lost in thought, when he heard it, the steady, rhythmic beat of hooves. He lifted his head. A rider approached from the distance, moving with calm purpose. As the figure drew closer, Cole realized it was a woman. She sat tall in the saddle, her posture confident, unhurried. Long black hair flowed freely down her back, catching the light. She wore traditional buckskin, beautifully worn and adorned with beadwork that spoke of heritage and endurance. She did not slow until she reached the porch. When she dismounted, she met Cole's gaze directly. Her eyes held no fear, no hesitation, only certainty. As if she had traveled a long way not just across land, but toward this exact moment. In a calm, steady voice, she said, "Now I am here." The word struck him like a breath he hadn't realized he'd been holding. For a moment, Cole forgot to respond. It felt impossibly like an answer to a prayer he'd never spoken aloud. Still, caution held him in place. He studied her quietly, shifting Emma in his arms. The woman noticed everything, his weariness, the baby's grip on him, the tired lines carved by responsibility. When he finally asked who she was and why she had come, his voice carried the guarded tone of a man who had learned to expect disappointment. "My name is Ayanna," she said. "I heard about a cowboy raising a child alone. I heard he had no one else." She explained that she knew loss. That she understood what it meant to carry grief silently. Children, she said, needed more than protection, they needed presence, patience, resilience. She believed she could help, if he would allow it. Trusting her felt like stepping into deep water without knowing how to swim. Yet something in her voice carried truth. Cole invited her onto the porch. Emma watched her closely, wide-eyed, but did not cry. Ayanna did not force a smile or reach for her. She simply nodded softly, acknowledging Emma as one would acknowledge another soul. Emma leaned forward instead of pulling away. That small gesture struck Cole harder than he expected. Emma's instincts were sharp. If she felt safe, perhaps he could too. When Cole asked what Ayanna wanted in return, she answered honestly. A place to belong. A chance to trade her hands and knowledge for shelter. A home where she would not be treated as an outsider. She had come from a village that no longer needed her as it once had. She sought purpose, and believed she might find it here. Cole showed her the ranch. They walked together, Emma perched on his hip, while Ayanna observed everything. The sagging fences, thinning pasture, crooked barn door, tired horses. She did not judge. She simply remarked that the land bore the mark of a man doing the work of three. When she asked what he wanted the ranch to become, Cole found himself stunned. No one had asked him about dreams since before Emma was born. "I want it to be a home," he admitted. "A legacy. Somewhere she can grow without fear." Ayanna listened, then nodded, as if sealing a promise within herself. She knelt beside a horse, whispering soothing words as she examined its hooves. The animal calmed beneath her touch, responding with trust. Cole watched with quiet awe. Hope stirred, real hope. When he asked why she would choose to care for a child not her own, Ayanna answered simply. In her people's belief, a child without enough arms to hold her carried a wound that could grow if ignored. She would not allow another child to bear such a wound. That night, Cole realized Ayanna was not an accident. She was a turning point. By morning, she was already awake, moving through the ranch as if she belonged there. She ground herbs to soothe Emma's teething, her hands gentle and sure. The land itself seemed to breathe easier. Days passed. Then weeks. Ayanna blended into their lives seamlessly. Emma reached for her with trusting arms. Tasks once overwhelming became manageable. Lullabies filled the cabin at night, stitching broken pieces together. Cole remained cautious, afraid she might leave. But each day, that fear faded. One evening, after chores, they sat near the corral watching Emma toddle through the grass, her laughter light as birdsong. Cole spoke of his grief, of Emma's mother, of guilt, of sleepless nights. Ayanna shared her own losses. They were both mending. When men from a nearby settlement arrived, accusing Ayanna of trespassing, Cole stood firm. Emma clung to Ayanna's leg in fear, and something fierce rose in Cole. "She belongs here," he said. After the men left, Ayanna confessed she had feared Cole might choose peace over her presence. "You are not a burden," he told her. "You are family." That night, under a sky full of stars, Cole watched Ayanna hold Emma as she slept. And he knew, he was no longer alone. The story that began with desperation ended with something far greater. A family. Bound by choice, healing, and the promise that none of them would ever face the world alone again.